The Zolaxian scientists gathered in the central chamber of their research facility, all eyes fixed on the gleaming metal sphere that hovered in the center of the room. After decades of work, Dr. Klarvex and his team had finally created something unprecedented, a device that could peer through time itself. The temporal observation device is ready for its first test, Dr. Klarvex announced, his translucent blue skin pulsing with excitement. The tall, slender alien adjusted the controls with his six-fingered hands. Today we make history by observing history. The assembled researchers clicked their approval, mandibles chattering in the traditional Zolaxian expression of scientific enthusiasm. Their civilization had conquered interstellar travel centuries ago, but time had remained the final frontier, until now. We can observe any point in the past without creating timeline disturbances, explained Dr. Klarvex. The device creates a one-way window only. We can see but not touch or alter events. The Science Council representative, Elder Moxtool, stepped forward. Why choose humans as your first subjects? There are more advanced species in our database, Doctor. Klarvex gestured to the holographic display showing Earth floating in space. Humans fascinate me. They advanced from stone tools to space travel in a mere blink of cosmic time. Their development curve is unlike anything we've ever documented. Elder Moxtoll seemed unconvinced. The Council has approved this project for academic purposes only, remember that. After the Elder departed, Dr. Klarvex called over his two most unusual team members. John Morris and Lisa Caldwell were human specialists, actual humans who had been raised in Zolaxian captivity after their colony ship was rescued generations ago. Their descendants had been studying human culture for the Zolaxians ever since. We'll need your perspective, Dr. Klarvex told them. Our initial calibration will focus on the last 10,000 years of human development. John nodded, his dark hair contrasting with the blue-skinned aliens around him. We can help interpret the cultural nuances your team might miss. Lisa adjusted her glasses. Remember that humans are emotional creatures. Their decisions often seem illogical because they're driven by feelings as much as reason. The team relocated to the observation center on Zolaxia's second moon. The facility was built deep underground to shield the sensitive temporal equipment from cosmic radiation. The main chamber contained a massive screen that would display their views into Earth's past. Dr. Klarvex worked tirelessly with his engineers to fine-tune the device. The technology was based on detecting quantum echoes, traces, that all events leave in the fabric of space-time. By amplifying these echoes and converting them to visual data, they could witness history unfold. Calibration complete, announced one of the technicians after a week of preparations. The temporal focus is locked on Earth, 8000 BCE. The team gathered around the screen as it flickered to life. At first there was only static, but then the image clarified to show primitive humans building early settlements along a river valley. The beginning of agriculture, whispered John. This is when everything changed for humans. Dr. Klarvex watched intently as the humans on screen worked together to divert water into primitive irrigation channels. Look how they cooperate. They're solving problems that should be beyond their intellectual capacity at this stage. Lisa pointed to the screen. They're not just surviving. They're planning for the future. That's uniquely human. As the days passed, the team observed more scenes from ancient human history. They witnessed the raising of megalithic structures, the development of writing, and the formation of the first cities. Dr. Klarvex became increasingly enthralled with human innovation despite their limited resources. We must document everything, he instructed the team. There's something special about these creatures, something unpredictable. Little did the Zolaxian researchers know that their academic project would soon reveal far more about humans than they ever expected, and force them to question everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe. The observation team settled into a routine, watching human history unfold like an endless documentary. Dr. Klarvex focused the temporal device on ancient Egypt, and the massive screen flickered to life with scenes of pyramids rising from the desert. Impossible, muttered Dr. Vreentak, the engineering specialist. These humans are using primitive tools, yet achieving architectural precision that challenges our understanding. The team watched in amazement as thousands of workers moved massive stone blocks into place with nothing but ropes, wooden sledges, and determination. "How are they doing this?" asked one of the junior researchers. Lisa Caldwell stepped forward. "Humans make up for technological limitations with sheer numbers and clever solutions. They're natural problem solvers." Day after day, the Zolaxians observed humans developing agriculture across different continents, inventing writing systems, and creating the first codes of law. Dr. Clarvex grew increasingly fascinated by human innovation, despite their limited resources and short lifespans. "Look at how knowledge spreads," he said, pointing to the screen as it showed ancient trade routes connecting distant civilizations. "They share ideas even while competing with each other." But not all observations were peaceful. The team witnessed brutal warfare between early city-states. Many Zolaxians turned away when the temporal device showed massacres and slavery. "I don't understand," said Dr. Vreentak. "How can the same species capable of such beautiful art and architecture also commit such violence?" John Morris shook his head. "That contradiction defines humanity. They create and destroy with equal passion." As weeks passed, the team documented the rise and fall of empires, the spread of religions, and technological innovations that transformed human societies. Dr. Clarvex became obsessed, often staying in the observation chamber long after others had left. "These humans are dangerous," warned Security Officer Zalmar, who had joined the project at the Science Council's insistence. "Their capacity for violence combined with their creativity could make them a threat." Lisa disagreed strongly. "You're missing the context. Humans fight, yes, but they also show remarkable resilience and compassion. They build hospitals and schools alongside weapons." The debate grew heated among the research team. Some saw humans as primitive savages who happened to be clever with tools. Others, including Dr. Clarvex, recognized something special in human adaptability. "We need to understand them better," Dr. Clarvex insisted. "Their unpredictability is precisely what makes them worth studying." The team watched humans survive plagues, famines, and natural disasters. Where the Zolaxians expected civilizational collapse, humans rebuilt, often emerging stronger than before. John pointed to the screen showing medieval monks preserving knowledge through Europe's darkest times. Humans never give up. Even in their worst moments, some are always working towards something better. During one particularly long session, they observed Leonardo da Vinci sketching inventions centuries ahead of his time. One creative human with simple tools imagined things our civilization didn't develop until our space age, whispered Dr. Clarvex. "How is this possible?" Lisa smiled. "Human imagination isn't constrained by what's possible, only by what they can dream." As they prepared to advance the temporal device to observe later periods, Dr. Clarvex received an urgent message from the Science Council. Several members were concerned about the project's focus on humans and demanded a progress report. "They're worried," John said after the call ended. "Your fascination with humans makes them uncomfortable." Dr. Clarvex's skin pulsed with determination. "Then we'll need to show them what we've learned. Humans aren't just interesting, they're extraordinary in ways we never anticipated." Security Officer Zalmar watched the exchange with narrowed eyes. "Or perhaps they're more dangerous than we realized. We should proceed with caution." No one noticed when Lisa and John exchanged a subtle, knowing glance. The temporal device hummed quietly as Dr. Clarvex adjusted its settings to focus on what humans called the Middle Ages. The team had been surprised to discover this period wasn't as primitive as they had expected. "Look at these water wheels and windmills," Dr. Clarvex pointed to the screen. Humans were harnessing natural energy sources much earlier than our records indicated. The observation chamber was more crowded now. Several military advisors had joined the project, their interest in human warfare evolution obvious from their constant note-taking. "These cathedrals are engineering marvels," noted Dr. Vreentak as the screen showed Notre Dame under construction. "The humans still lack basic power tools, yet they're creating structures that will stand for centuries." Lisa Caldwell nodded. Medieval builders understood principles of weight distribution and structural integrity through trial and error. Many cathedrals collapsed during construction, but they learned from each failure. The scene shifted to a village ravaged by plague. Zalaxian researchers watched in horror as disease swept through Europe, killing millions. Bodies piled in streets, while doctors in strange-beaked masks attempted treatments that often made things worse. "Such suffering," whispered one of the junior researchers. "Yet they survive." John Morris pointed to a monastery where monks cared for the sick. "Humans show their best qualities in their worst moments. Look at those risking their lives to help others." Dr. Clarvex was particularly fascinated by the Renaissance period that followed. The screen displayed painters, sculptors, and inventors pushing the boundaries of human knowledge after surviving the devastation of plagues. "Their art contains mathematical precision that shouldn't be possible without advanced measuring tools," he said, studying Da Vinci's work. "And look, they're performing anatomical studies despite religious prohibitions. Their curiosity overcomes their fears." Security Officer Zalmar watched with growing concern. "Their pattern of development troubles me. Humans advance most rapidly during or after periods of great conflict or disaster. It's pressure adaptation," explained Lisa. "Humans evolve their thinking when challenges force new solutions." The team observed explorers venturing across oceans in wooden ships, risking everything for discovery. They watched Magellan's fleet attempt to circumnavigate the globe, most sailors never returning home. "They're willing to die just to know what's beyond the horizon," Dr. Clarvex said with wonder in his voice. "What will they do when they look to the stars with this same determination?" That question hung in the air as the temporal device showed human expansion across continents. The military observers paid special attention to evolving warfare tactics and weapons technology. "Their conflicts drive innovation," noted the lead military advisor. "Each war produces technological leaps that they then apply to civilian purposes." Lisa frowned. "That's an oversimplification. Many human innovations came from peaceful collaboration and necessity." The debate over human nature grew more heated among the research team. Some saw only violence and conquest on the screen. Others noted the philosophers, artists, and scientists working to improve knowledge and living conditions. Dr. Clarvex received another message from the Science Council. They were concerned about his glowing progress reports regarding human potential. "The council suggests we terminate the project," he told the team after the call. "They fear we're becoming too sympathetic to these primitives." "That would be a mistake," John argued passionately. "We're just beginning to understand human complexity. Their contradictions are their strength. They can be both destructive and creative, selfish and selfless." Lisa stood beside him. "Humans contain multitudes. That's what makes them unique among species we've studied." Dr. Clarvex made his decision. "We continue. I'll deal with the council's concerns." As the team prepared to advance the temporal device to observe the Industrial Revolution, no one noticed the subtle exchange of glances between Lisa and John, nor the way they occasionally touched what appeared to be simple bracelets on their wrists when they thought no one was watching. The temporal observation chamber buzzed with activity as Dr. Clarvex prepared to focus on what humans called the Industrial Revolution. The Zalaxian research team had grown accustomed to the slow pace of human development over centuries, but nothing prepared them for what appeared on the screen. "The rate of change is impossible," gasped Dr. Vreentak as they watched cities transform before their eyes. "They've moved from horse transportation to steam engines in mere decades." The screen showed factories sprouting across England, belching black smoke as humans harnessed coal power on a massive scale. Workers toiled in dangerous conditions while machines multiplied production capabilities exponentially. "Their progress is unnatural," said Security Officer Zalmar. "No species should advance this rapidly without guidance." Lisa Caldwell shook her head. "It's not unnatural for humans. They thrive under pressure and competition." The observation team watched in stunned silence as humans developed telegraph systems, early automobiles, and electrical grids. Cities that had been lit by oil lamps suddenly glowed with electric light. The pace of innovation seemed to accelerate with each passing year. How can they achieve so much without unified global governance? Asked one researcher. They're competing against each other, yet collectively advancing faster than any species we've studied. Dr. Klarvex's skin pulsed with excitement. That's precisely what makes them unique. Human competition drives innovation rather than hindering it. The team observed the darker side of this rapid growth: children working in mines, polluted rivers, killing fish and plants, workers trapped in dangerous factories. Yet alongside these horrors, they also witnessed the birth of labor movements, environmental awareness, and public health campaigns. A new human specialist joined the team, Amanda Nguyen, brought in to help interpret the increasingly complex social movements appearing on screen. She arrived as they were watching early suffragettes demanding voting rights. Humans frequently extend rights and opportunities to previously excluded groups, Amanda explained. It's rarely smooth or quick, but they continuously expand their circles of moral concern. Military observers grew increasingly concerned as they watched human weapons evolve. The temporal device showed the development of more efficient guns, explosives, and early aircraft. They're building weapons that could eventually threaten interstellar civilizations, warned the lead military advisor. And look how they're already using primitive flying machines to drop bombs. The team watched the Wright brothers achieve powered flight at Kitty Hawk, then observed how quickly humans adapted this technology. From first flight to crossing oceans in less than 2 decades, murmured Dr. Klarvex. No Zolaxian engineer would have predicted this development curve. News arrived that the Zolaxian High Council had begun secret discussions about potential intervention on Earth. Several counselors argued that humans represented a future threat that should be contained before they achieved space travel. They don't understand what we're seeing here, Dr. Klarvex told his team privately. Humans aren't just weapon builders, they're dreamers and problem solvers. John Morris pointed to the screen showing early conservation movements. For every destructive tendency, they develop a counterbalancing force. They're self-correcting. As the temporal device prepared to advance to the early 20th century, Amanda noticed something curious about the data stream. There's an anomaly in the quantum signature, she told Dr. Klarvex quietly. It's almost as if the timeline is aware of being observed. Dr. Klarvex dismissed her concerns. Impossible. The device creates a one-way window only. Yet as they watched humans begin developing radio, quantum physics, and early computing, Amanda couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong with their fundamental assumptions about the project. What if humans are more aware than we think? She whispered to herself, careful that none of the Zolaxians could hear her. She glanced at Lisa and John, noticing how they sometimes seemed to anticipate events on the screen before they happened. The mood in the observation chamber darkened as Dr. Klarvex advanced the temporal device to the 20th century. Nothing in their previous observations had prepared the Zolaxians for the scale of human conflict that appeared on screen. This can't be accurate, whispered Dr. Vreentuck, his translucent skin paling as they watched the muddy trenches of World War I. Millions of humans dying for territorial disputes? Lisa's face remained grim. The Great War, as they called it then, the first truly industrialized conflict. The team watched in horrified silence as poison gas drifted across battlefields and young men charged into machine gun fire. Military observers took extensive notes on the evolving weapons technology, while medical researchers studied the human capacity to endure trauma. They should have destroyed themselves, said Security Officer Zalmar. No rational species would continue after this. Yet the temporal viewer showed humans not only continuing, but rebuilding with remarkable speed after the war ended. Cities rose from ruins, new technologies emerged, and cultural movements flourished in the 1920s. Look at their resilience, Dr. Klarvex pointed out. They experience unprecedented destruction, then enter a period of creative explosion. The screen shifted to show scientists working in laboratories, Einstein developing relativity theories, quantum physicists revealing the atom's secrets, and engineers creating early computers. Their theoretical work is approaching our level, noted one scientist with alarm. They're centuries ahead of where they should be. Then the images darkened again as economic depression spread globally, followed by the rise of fascism. The team watched in stunned silence as World War II erupted across multiple continents. "The scale is incomprehensible," murmured Amanda. "And yet, look at those working against the darkness." The screen showed resistance fighters, scientists helping refugees escape, and ordinary citizens hiding persecuted neighbors at risk to their own lives. When the temporal device revealed the Manhattan Project, the observation chamber erupted in chaos. "They've discovered atomic fission," Dr. Vreentak shouted. "This is impossible for their development stage." Military advisors immediately began transmitting data to the Zalaxian High Council. The screen showed the devastating power of nuclear weapons at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. "The Council demands immediate containment protocols," announced Security Officer Zalmar after receiving an urgent communication. "Humans have been reclassified as a Class 1 threat." John stepped forward boldly. "You're making a terrible mistake. Yes, they created weapons of immense destruction, but look what happened next." The temporal viewer shifted to show the formation of the United Nations, international cooperation on nuclear safeguards, and global humanitarian efforts. "Humans learn from their mistakes," Lisa argued passionately. "They developed nuclear power for peaceful purposes after witnessing its destructive potential." Dr. Klarvex watched the Cold War unfold on screen. Two superpowers locked in ideological battle, each capable of ending human civilization, yet somehow managing to avoid total war. "They live on the edge of annihilation for decades," he observed. "Yet they produce their greatest art, science, and technology under this pressure. It defies all behavioral models." The Council established a contingency plan for human quarantine, preparation for preventing Earth from achieving interstellar capabilities if necessary. Amanda approached Dr. Klarvex privately after the tense meeting. "I've been analyzing the quantum signatures from our observations. Something isn't right with our assumptions." "What do you mean?" he asked. "The temporal echoes have patterns suggesting—" She hesitated. "It's almost as if we're not the first to observe these events." Dr. Klarvex dismissed her concerns, too focused on the remarkable space race unfolding on screen. Humans reaching for the moon barely 2 decades after developing nuclear weapons. "Their acceleration curve is unlike anything in our records," he told his team. "We must understand what drives them before making any decisions about containment." No one noticed John and Lisa exchanging subtle nods as they prepared for the next observation session. The temporal device hummed louder as Dr. Klarvex adjusted it to observe what humans called the digital revolution. The Zolaxian research team had thought nothing could surprise them after witnessing 2 world wars, but the pace of technological change that appeared on screen left them speechless. "Look at the computational power growth," Dr. Vreentak said, pointing to images of room-sized computers shrinking to desktop machines then to handheld devices. "They're compressing centuries of development into decades." The observation chamber was now permanently staffed with military analysts, as the Zalaxian High Council grew increasingly concerned about human potential. They watched as primitive networking systems evolved into the global internet, connecting billions of humans instantaneously. "What took our civilization 400 years, they've accomplished in less than 50, Dr. Klarvex noted, his skin pulsing with excitement and concern. "Their collaborative potential through these networks is unprecedented." Lisa pointed to the screen showing early software developers sharing code freely. "Humans often collaborate even without direct benefit. They build on each other's work across borders and ideologies." The team observed the birth of personal computing, digital telecommunications, and the early internet. Humans who had recently communicated by postal mail were suddenly exchanging ideas instantly across continents. Their information-sharing capacity has increased by a factor of millions, calculated one analyst. No wonder their development curve is exponential. Military observers grew increasingly agitated as they watched humans developing advanced robotics, artificial intelligence, and satellite technology. "They're approaching the threshold for interstellar capabilities," warned Security Officer Zalmar. "The Council believes we have less than 100 years before they could detect our civilization." Amanda studied the humans on screen carefully. "But look at what they're using these technologies for: mapping the human genome, creating clean, Energy solutions developing medical treatments. And weapons, countered Zalmar, always weapons. The team witnessed environmental damage spreading alongside technological progress. Polar ice caps melting, forests disappearing, and species going extinct at alarming rates. Yet they also observed growing environmental movements, international climate agreements, and green technology development. They damaged their world, then raced to fix it, observed Dr. Clarvex. Always in this pattern of crisis and innovation. John nodded. Humans are slow to recognize problems but remarkably creative once they accept them. They're beginning to understand their impact on their planet. The observation revealed something else that troubled the Zalaxian researchers. Humans were looking outward with increasingly powerful telescopes, sending probes to nearby planets and discussing serious plans for Mars colonization. They're searching for us, whispered Dr. Vreentuck. Their instruments grow more sensitive each year. The Council classified humans as a potential Type 1 civilization, a species on the verge of controlling the energy resources of their entire planet. This designation triggered automatic security protocols requiring continuous monitoring. Amanda approached Dr. Clarvex privately after a particularly intense observation session. I've confirmed the quantum anomalies in our temporal readings. The signature patterns suggest information is flowing both ways. Impossible, Dr. Clarvex replied. The device is observational only. Then how do you explain this? Amanda showed him data revealing subtle changes in human behavior patterns when under observation. It's statistically significant. Humans seem to behave differently when our focus is most intense. Dr. Clarvex stared at the numbers, his scientific mind refusing to accept the implications. Perhaps a calibration error? Or perhaps, Amanda suggested carefully, humans are more aware than we believe. Maybe they sense being watched. As the team prepared to advance the temporal viewer to observe more recent human history, Lisa and John exchanged knowing glances. John subtly adjusted something on his wrist when he thought no one was looking. They're approaching a technological singularity, Dr. Clarvex told his team. If current trends continue, they'll achieve in decades what took us millennia. We must understand why before the Council makes any containment decisions. The temporal observation chamber buzzed with tension as Dr. Clarvex focused the device on current human history. Military presence had doubled, with Zalaxian defense officials now outnumbering the original scientific team. We've reached their present, announced Dr. Clarvex. Remember that observations may become less stable as we approach the current timeline. The screen showed humans facing a global pandemic. Cities emptied as the virus spread, yet digital networks kept societies functioning despite physical isolation. Look at their adaptability, Lisa pointed out. Virtual workplaces, remote education, 3D printed medical supplies, all deployed within weeks. The Zalaxians watched humans develop vaccines at unprecedented speed, using genetic technologies that had barely existed a decade earlier. Their medical science is advancing faster than our models predicted, noted Dr. Vreentuck. They're manipulating viral genetics with remarkable precision. The screen shifted to show quantum computing breakthroughs, artificial intelligence developments, and robots performing increasingly complex tasks. They're approaching technological singularity, Dr. Clarvex said, his voice tight with concern. The point where their technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. Security Officer Zalmar received an urgent communication from the High Council. The Council has called an emergency session. They're voting on preemptive measures against Earth. What kind of measures? Asked John, his face carefully neutral. Containment at minimum, possibly more permanent solutions, Zalmar replied coldly. Dr. Clarvex frantically compiled research data showing human ethical development alongside technological growth. Their capacity for cooperation grows with their technology. Look at their International Space Station, former enemies working together above their planet. The team observed human space exploration accelerating, reusable rockets, plans for lunar bases, and serious discussions of Mars colonization. Private companies joined governments in the race to space. They'll detect us within decades at this rate, warned a military analyst. Amanda had been unusually quiet, analyzing data patterns on her separate terminal. She suddenly stood up. "Dr. Clarvex, I need to speak with you privately. Immediately." In a secured room adjacent to the main chamber, Amanda revealed her findings. "I've confirmed that humans have detected our temporal observations. Look at these pattern anomalies. They occur precisely when specific humans look directly at locations where our temporal focus is strongest." "That's impossible," Dr. Clarvex whispered. "The device creates no physical presence. It creates quantum disturbances," Amanda explained, "and humans have developed quantum sensors sensitive enough to detect them." Before Dr. Clarvex could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. They rushed back to the main chamber to find chaos. The temporal device was displaying strange feedback patterns, its energy readings fluctuating wildly. "What's happening?" demanded Zalmar. "Something's interfering with the temporal field," a technician reported. "It's as if someone is pushing back against our observation." John and Lisa stood calmly amidst the panic. John slowly raised his wrist, revealing what had appeared to be a simple bracelet, but now glowed with pulsing energy. "I think it's time we were honest with each other," John said, his voice cutting through the alarm sounds. Lisa stepped forward. "We're not what you think we are. Humans haven't just detected your observations. They've been aware of them from the beginning." Dr. Clarvex stared at them in shock. "What are you saying?" "We allowed you to observe us," John explained. "We've been guiding what you see." The temporal screen suddenly displayed a laboratory on Earth where humans worked with technology that looked remarkably similar to the Zolaxian temporal device. "Impossible," whispered Dr. Vreentuck. "They can't have this technology yet." Amanda looked at John and Lisa with new understanding. "You're not descendants of captured colonists, are you? You're from their future." Lisa nodded. "We're representatives sent to make first contact when you reached this point in your observations." The Zolaxian High Council appeared on a communication screen, demanding an explanation for the energy surges. As Dr. Clarvex struggled to respond, John turned to the assembled aliens with a slight smile. "Your vote won't be necessary," he told them calmly. "Humans have already decided to make contact." The temporal observation chamber fell silent as John and Lisa revealed their true identities. Dr. Clarvex stared at them, his translucent blue skin pulsing with shock and disbelief. "How long have you known?" he finally asked. "We've always known," Lisa replied calmly. "Humans developed temporal sensing technology nearly 50 years ago. We detected your first observations during what you called the digital revolution." The Zolaxian High Council members watched through the communication screen, their mandibles clicking rapidly in distress. "This is a security breach of the highest order," declared Council Leader Zexmore. "Containment protocols must be initiated immediately." John shook his head and held up his wrist device. "That would be unwise. This isn't just a communication tool. It's connected to a temporal shield network surrounding Earth. Any aggressive action would be unfortunate." Amanda stepped forward, standing beside John and Lisa. "They're telling the truth. I suspected something was wrong with our readings weeks ago." She turned to Dr. Clarvex. "The quantum signatures showed information flowing both ways. The humans weren't just being observed. They were studying us through our own device." Dr. Clarvex struggled to process this revelation. "But the temporal viewer is passive. It can only observe, not transmit." "Any observation creates quantum entanglement," Lisa explained. "Once we detected the connection, we learned to use it as a communication channel. Your device became our window into your world." The temporal screen suddenly changed, showing a vast underground facility on Earth filled with technology far more advanced than anything the Zolaxians had seen in their observations. "This is our temporal research division," John said. "We've been monitoring your civilization for nearly as long as you've been watching ours." "Impossible," whispered Dr. Vreentuck. "Your species is barely spacefaring." Lisa smiled. "What you've been watching was partially curated. We allowed you to see our struggles and conflicts because we wanted you to understand our true nature, not just our technological capabilities." Amanda's eyes widened with sudden understanding. "The historical footage you've been performing for us. Not performing, John corrected. Just selectively revealing. We showed you our darkest moments alongside our greatest achievements because we wanted you to see humanity complete, not sanitized. Dr. Clarvex looked at the screen displaying the Earth facility, noting details that confirmed they were far beyond what should have been possible. Why reveal yourselves now? He asked. Because you reached the decision point, Lisa explained. Your council was about to vote on whether to destroy us. We couldn't allow that misunderstanding to continue. The Zalaxian military personnel moved toward their weapons but froze when the temporal device began pulsing with energy. The entire observation chamber trembled slightly. I wouldn't, John warned. This facility now exists in a temporal bubble. We control the time flow within these walls. Council leader Zexmore's voice shook with rage. This is an act of war. No, Lisa countered firmly. This is first contact. We could have revealed ourselves sooner, but we wanted you to see our full history first, to understand that despite our capacity for violence, we always choose cooperation when given the chance. Amanda turned to Dr. Clarvex. Think about what we've learned. Humans advance fastest when challenged. Their entire history shows they thrive under pressure. Why would a species like that reveal their full capabilities to potential competitors? Dr. Clarvex's scientific mind raced through the implications. You've been ahead of us all along? John nodded. In some areas, we wanted equal footing for first contact, not domination or submission. The temporal screen changed again, showing a human delegation prepared for diplomatic meetings. Among them were faces identical to John and Lisa, but slightly older. We're offering genuine exchange, Lisa said. Not conquest, not containment, partnership. As the Zalaxian Council argued furiously among themselves, Dr. Clarvex stepped forward and silenced them with a gesture. We created a time machine to observe history, he said slowly. But what humans did shocked us indeed. You turned our window into a mirror. He extended his six-fingered hand toward John. Perhaps it's time we truly saw each other. John smiled and reached out to complete the first official handshake between their species. That's all we ever wanted.